and I had to go through a whole lot to get to the lesson of what it meant. But it meant be the love to yourself, show the love to yourself and others, and then share it out to the world.
You're listening to Inspire Me with Jay, where science meets spirit and stories of meditation and the near death experience awaken what's possible within us all. I'm Jay, and this is your moment to be inspired. Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. Today I have a guest, Kris, who had a powerful near-death experience. It gave her purpose and a mission in life, and she was able to heal from it. She's going to share her story with us today. Kris, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me, Jay.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And so just go ahead and share your experience if you want. If you want to tell a little bit about yourself, that would be fine too.
Sure. Well, we'll start with, I suffer from multiple sclerosis and Crohn's disease. And so it had been a long 18-year battle where I've been paralyzed, blind, on and off for those 18 years. So I was extremely depressed and in a really bad place. And in 2019, I ended up in a hospital room, well, in the hospital emergency, really. And I ended up, the hospital was about to send me home, and I ended up on the bathroom floor dying. Uh, and so they had to resuscitate me. Excuse me. Now, when I had walked into that hospital, I had told them, do not resuscitate. But they did anyways, because I guess God was listening to me. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here. I guess God was listening to me. So I had been in that hospital for at least 2 weeks when this first one happened, when the first do not resuscitate happened and they resuscitated. So the difference was that when they brought me back the first time, I just went to black. And then it happened again. And then the second time it happened, again, I went to black. And then the third time it happened, which was about a week after that, when I had to be resuscitated a third time, um, I didn't go to black that time. I left my body. And my mom, who had passed away 5 years previously, had come to, I guess, rescue me. And she took me away from this earth. And she brought me to a cloud. And on that cloud, we sat. And I don't know how long we sat there. And I didn't really get to see my mom too much during that time. Even though we were sitting together, we were having conversation. I can hear her. It was like through osmosis, the conversation. And I was looking at the back of her head because she sat in front of me on the cloud. I was looking at the back of her head. Um, and I guess she had been mad at me because I couldn't be there for her when she died. The strength wasn't there for me. But in that moment, my mom and I sat there together, and she saved me, and it was beautiful. And the clouds were coming up and down, the sun was coming in and out, and night would fall, the sun would come up, and I would just watch the earth move. I just watch everything on this planet move as I was sitting there with her until finally a big bright light came, and it wasn't just sunshine. It was my mom. And you know, I mean it was God. It wasn't my mom. It was God who had come. And I know a lot of people say, well, you're just imagining. No, that's not my imagination. And when I when he spoke, all I heard was the answers are going to be there when you get back. And they were. And so I tried to rebuttal with him in that moment to try to have a conversation, but he wasn't listening. He didn't care. He just said, the answers are going to be there when you get back. And he sent me home. And so when I woke up in that hospital bed, as I was coming through, I kept repeating the words, be love, show love, share love, be love, show love, share love. Because that's what I heard as I was coming back. And you're coming back through a tube, I guess, is what would happen because I went zip back. And as I woke out of that event, I was alone in my room, And I just kept repeating those words. And finally, I opened my laptop in that moment, and the answers were there. That's where I found hypnosis and rapid transformational therapy, and it actually ended up saving my life. So he wasn't wrong, and he was giving me a gift of life again. And so that happened in that way. Now, after, like, I want to preface this by saying when I went in there, I didn't I didn't fully believe in God. I was so angry at God for everything that had happened to me in my life, because really, I used to be a ballroom dancer, Latin dancer, and a reporter for the news stations, and I was very active and thriving and about to be incredibly successful in my life when I got knocked down. And I was so angry for him taking that all away from me. And so, I was blaming and not forgiving of him. And it changed in that moment, when I got to meet him, right? Because now I understand he's real and he's full of love, and there's a reason for everything. And so when I came back to Earth, right after that happened, um, or even before that happened, my dad's new wife had brought a cross into the hospital. And I told her I didn't want the damn cross, but she put it near my bed anyways. And I think that helped to keep me safe in there. And when she did that, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think these things worked, you know, because I guess I just didn't want to believe because of what was happening. And so I had stayed in that hospital for 3 months. I had to have blood transfusion surgeries, those 3 resuscitations, a bunch of stuff was going on. But when I finally was leaving to go home, it was about a week, maybe 2 weeks before I left the hospital. She asked me what I wanted to take out because I had a pile of books and stuff there. And so I said, here, take your cross, take it with you home. Because I still, even though I knew God had saved me from dying and he sent me back, I still didn't really fully have him in my heart yet, right? And I said, take the cross. I don't need it. I was wrong. I was wrong. Because right after she took the cross, within a day, like by the next day, I had been attacked by some sort of demon in that hospital. And I know people might think that's not real, but man, they wander the halls and I started to see him. And this demon, he jumped on my chest, and he was like in a dog-like body with a human head. And he had these big jagged teeth, and he was drooling all over me. And when he jumped on, it caused my entire arms and my whole body to go, all the blood to come up. And I was having, I guess the blood was whatever. Anyways, that lasted for a couple of weeks after he jumped on me. And so it was a mark, a stain from what he had done. And I could see his marks like right here. From where he was standing on me and pushing down the pressure, that's where it was the reddest. And the hospital thought I was batshit crazy when I was telling him this. But as this thing jumped off of me, because I cried to God, please help, like, Jesus, help me. And this thing just went flying backwards, hit the back wall where there was a cross, because I was in a Catholic hospital. And there was a cross on that back wall. And the cross was drilled into the wall, but it went that way. It bent. And when he hit it, and then he went out of my room, and I don't know who else he went to attack, but he never came back. And it was the scariest thing I ever experienced. And I was in a panic, and I called the staff in, please help me, get a priest in here right now. The priest came in, he did prayers all over my room. And I pointed to the cross and I said, look what he did, look what he did. And the priest's face went white, because I guess he didn't believe me either until he saw the cross and how it had moved. And it's impossible for those, like, even for him, it took him all of his energy just to push the cross back into place. That's how hard that thing hit it, right? On his way out, the energy of it hit it. So that's when he finally, I guess, believed what I was saying. And it was surreal to me. But right after the priest left the room, in the far corner, sat a man. It was maybe an hour or two after the priest left because I'd fallen asleep peacefully after he left. And when I woke up, I don't know, maybe it was longer than, but when I woke up, I saw there was a man in the corner of my room. And I knew he wasn't real in a way because he didn't look fully formed, like you could see translucence behind him. And he just sat there with these beautiful, beautiful blue eyes, and he just smiled. He just smiled at me. And in that moment, I also knew who he was. He was my guardian angel. He was my guardian angel because I'd seen him before when I was a teenager and I had been in a haunted house. We lived in a house that had been filled with, I don't know what, but I had been attacked in that house. And then we finally moved. But when I'd been attacked one night, he came. He came to me in that house and he saved me. So I remember that face from then. And then I saw him again in this hospital room. And he was just powerful and shining, glowing, this beautiful glow. And he just sat with me in that corner until I left the hospital 2 weeks later. He just sat there smiling. And anybody who came into the room afterwards, I kept saying, do you see him? Do you see him right there? And they're like, there's nobody there. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, he's there. He's there. And I kept seeing him. And I felt at peace. And so that was the full experience of that NDE, because I guess God sat with me afterwards. And that was when I fully put him in my body. And I started to understand what he meant by be love, show love, share love when he sent me back. I learned through whatever I was growing with, and I had to go through a whole lot to get to the lesson of what it meant. But it meant be the love to yourself, show the love to yourself and others, and then share it out to the world. And so that's what I get to do today. That's what I've become. I've become that love. I feel like it radiates right out of me, and I feel powerful now because of that love. And so when I opened my computer just after I came out of that coma or out of the resuscitation, I don't know how long it was, but I'd seen a video by Marissa Peer playing, and she was talking about rapid transformational therapy and hypnosis. And that was the answer. That was the answers for me. And it taught me how to save myself. And that's how I got started on my big journey today, was because of getting that experience to meet God and then having him send my guardian angel to be with me. And frankly, I don't think if the demon didn't come in that hospital, I don't think I fully would have believed everything what was going on. I don't think I would have believed in God and the power of the cross and the power of him, the power of saying his name. I don't think I would have believed in any of that until it happened to me. And so now I'm screaming it from the rooftops about how he could save you and how he could change everything and what it feels like to get to meet him. And I didn't get to go to heaven, I didn't get to go through those pearly gates, thankfully. All I had to do was go to a cloud with my mom and just sit there. But it was an incredibly powerful experience that still sits with me today. And when I talk about it, I get verklempt a little bit, and I get stoic, I guess, because it's just, I know that I'm one of the special ones. Very few people get to experience this. Very few people get that second chance. And I don't know why he chose me. Well, now I do. Now I know why he chose me, because he needs me to send this message to the world of be love, show love, share love. That's why he chose me. And I wasn't loved. I wasn't loved when I met him, when I died. I had been a real jerk, because like I said earlier, I had been a reporter before. And if you understand the job of a reporter, it doesn't create good people. Let me put it that way. It was turning me into a real jerk, because my job was to seek out other people's miseries and then highlight it on the news, right? That was my job. That's the opposite of love. And now I think God gave me all that. He had to take me away from that job. And listen, I wasn't listening. I know many times he tried to get me away from that job in the past, but I I refused. I kept getting deeper and deeper. I remember telling you a story earlier about my dad. When I was first trying to find employment after graduation, high school graduation and stuff, and trying to figure out my path, I said, maybe I should become a police officer. And my dad looked at me because he didn't want me in that kind of career because he knew it was scary and bad things could happen to me. And so he said, if you become a police officer, I'll become a drug dealer so that you have to get fired. And so I thought for a minute, I said, okay, I won't be a police officer. And then I went to an even worse job. I became a war reporter. I wanted to become a war reporter. And so that was my path. And so I just kept one-upping, right? One-upping everything that he was offering me. I'm like, well, I'll just get worse. Then let's like, it was all free will. It was all ego. And that's what I was driven by, ego. I wasn't driven by love at all. I was driven by what will make me look the best in this world, what would make me feel the best, more powerful, right? And it turned out that that was what was killing me in the end. It was sucking the life out of me. And by life, I mean the happiness, the joy, the little child that still lived inside me. She was torn away, and she was miserable. And everything that was going on with me changed that day in the hospital because I learned to let go of the ego. And I had to learn that through the 18 years of struggle because I couldn't have learned it any other way. And I understood this all. Like when he said the answers will be there when you get back, I suddenly understood why. And I was no longer mad at him because I realized, holy crap, I'm a very stubborn girl and I'll do it my way. Right. And that's the only way I would listen to him. And so he kept hitting me harder and harder and harder until I finally got the lesson. And for me, I only got the lesson when he took me to that cloud and taught me this is your new reality, that you're not going to go back, if you don't change. And so I learned it. And I'm very grateful that he taught me that because without knowing that it was all, my whole life was happening for me. It wasn't happening to me, right? He had stopped me from being the reporter because he knew that was taking me away from everything. And so he gave me the MS and the Crohn's, and he gave me all that to slow me down, but it didn't slow me down. And I kept going. And so finally he had to give me the NDE so that I would stop in my tracks. Right. And all of that experience, all it did was cause me to become more and more bitter rather than to have more faith in God. That's all it did until he stopped me in my tracks. And that's when I started to have more faith in God. And then everything started to turn around because I started to really see the answers and get the answers from him. And so now when I go to the world and I'm talking and I'm praying and I'm seeing things out in the real life, I could still see my guardian angel every now and again. He comes around. When I'm starting to go backwards again, that guardian angel comes back, and I just saw him like last month actually, in the trees outside, and he was just sitting there smiling at me. It was just a huge, massive head in the trees with those same eyes, that same gentle face, and a beautiful, beautiful smile. And he was just looking at me, like nodding, like, you're going to be okay. You're on the right path. Just keep going. Because I was questioning well, the project I'm currently working on is incredibly huge. And I thought, who am I? Who am I to do this? Like, why would I think that I could be the one to be able to do this? And that's when I saw him reminding me, you are powerful. You can do this. You're not alone. We're here. You're here for a reason. We sent you back to do this, to teach these people to be love, show love, share love, and to become love in themselves. And by that, I don't mean like you have all the time and you can't be angry. You can't be, you can't have boundaries. You can't stand up for yourself. You can't swear. That's not what I mean by be love. I mean, love yourself. You have to love yourself. And I had to learn that the hard way, but I got to learn that through this entire experience and through my entire life and all the crap I'd gone through my whole life. I got to learn that everything's happening for a reason. And you can't heal your body and your mind if you stay in anger, if you're staying in resentment, if you're staying in that hate. You can't, you won't heal. You're going to get what you're feeding yourself. And what I was feeding myself was that negativity. What that job was feeding me was negativity. But now I move forward and I get to be a hypnotherapist. I get to save people. I get to help them save themselves, right? So that helps me to become more love. And I'm very grateful.
So you had a pretty dramatic healing, and it was sort of gradual, though. Um, what happened with
Yeah.
that? Did you started your healing track immediately, but then it just continued?
Yeah. So after that, okay, so fun fact. Once I woke up in the hospital room and I heard Marissa Peer talking, okay, the first thing that happened was I tried the hypnosis in the hospital. I tried self-hypnosis. And now listen, prior to this, for at least a month, months and a half, I had been in that hospital room swearing at all the staff, telling them to go to H. And I had been so mean. Even the priest that had come in to talk to me, I kicked him right the hell out. And I was in a ball begging them to take my life the entire freaking time. I was crying. I was like, because I was in excruciating pain. My body was shutting down. I was in a lot of pain. But right after it happened, and I was I did the self hypnosis because I watched the Marissa Peer video and I did the self hypnosis. And I was seated in my hospital bed at my computer typing. And I started typing a story because I'm a writer, right? And so my brain just went, tell a story, tell it. And I just started typing and I was writing feverishly. And the hospital nurse ran into the room. She's like, oh, what's going on? I guess because I had been attached to everything, like in my neck and in my arms, I had things attached. Um, and all the alarms were going off. And she's like, it looks like you're running around the hospital. I don't know what's happening. And I'm looking at her like I'm absolutely fine, So she took my blood pressure and all that. I was fine. But it looked like I was, like she said, it looked like I had been doing some sort of gymnastic type stuff. Not that I had just been sitting there typing feverishly, but I got me back. And I guess when the me came back in my body, the energy circuit that lit up went from down here to up here. And all of those alarms started to signal the nurses that something was different, something was wrong. But I hadn't left that hospital bed in like at least 2 months, not even to go to the bathroom. So that's where I was at. And but it worked. And that's when she came in, that's when I realized, oh my God, I'm not crunched in a ball anymore crying. I'm not begging her to take my life. I am here typing. I'm loving this. And I was loving myself and it was instant. All of the anger that I had felt before, all of the self-hate I had felt before had left. It was all gone. And so did I fully heal in that moment? No, but my soul did. My soul did. It took a good year for my body to follow. And during that year, I did a lot of hypnosis sessions with Marissa's team. And I think I did 12 sessions in that year with her team. But I healed my entire body. I haven't had symptoms of paralysis. Like I still have in my left leg. Yeah, I still have a bit of numbness, but it's nothing like what it was before. Like it was like carrying 2 cement bricks before. Now it's just a little bit numb from my knee down because it's inch by inch you heal. It takes years to heal these sorts of things. So inch by inch I'm healing. But yeah, so in that year I did those hypnosis, and then once I started to learn to heal my body and my mind, I started to learn more about mindset and how important it was on how you talk to yourself. And that was kind of like the catalyst to further healing. And so that's when I became a hypnotherapist. I started a rapid transformational therapist, truly, but I started to train under Marissa Peer. And I got to learn exactly what their skills were that helped to save me. And so now that's what I get to offer the world. Again, it did take a full year for my body to heal enough for me to even start taking those lessons, for me to even start believing that, that I could, that it was for me, that I was worth it. All of that, it took a long time because even though the hate left me, the anger left me, I wasn't holding any of that anymore. It still took a long time to believe my own value again. Because when you go 18 years thinking you're garbage, thinking this is it for me, this is my life now, it's hard to get those thoughts out of your head. And it was a struggle a bit, but the hypnosis helped train it out. Like one hypnosis session, and the anger that was still residue in me, that was still stuck in my stomach, that left. It was no longer there. And it got to the point where I couldn't even, now I can't, when I do get angry, and yes, I do get angry still, but it doesn't last the way it used to. It used to be where I just rage for hours and days, weeks, sometimes over the same crap, right? Just rage. And now I'll get angry, and 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds later, the rage dissipates, not rage, anger dissipates. And I never hit rage anymore. But the anger will dissipate, and I will just simply fall into finding resolve, finding answers instead. And that's where my brain automatically goes to, because now the hypnosis has trained it to do that, right? And so that's what I do. I don't stay angry anymore. I'm not cruel anymore. Can I be mean sometimes? Sure. But it's not anywhere near what it was, right? Because no human is perfect. We can't expect to be perfect. And I don't expect to be perfect. Whereas before I did expect myself to be perfect. And that was a burden, like a huge burden I was placing on myself. I used to not be able to even walk to 7-Eleven, which is a corner store. I don't know if you guys have one of those in your country, but that was our big thing out here, was the 7-Elevens. And I couldn't even go to the 7-Eleven without having a full face of makeup, and my hair had to be done, and I had to look, to the nines. And I would not leave my house unless I looked perfect. And now since this event, I don't wear makeup unless I'm on TV, unless I'm doing stuff like this. I have no makeup on. I don't care if I'm not perfect anymore, because I know that I still glow. Now I'm glowing with love of self, and I'm glowing with the love that I share out to the world. And that's what people see when I come up. They don't care if I'm wearing makeup. And very few people have said that, oh, you're ugly, whatever. I mean, I've gotten it from a few guys, but then when I look at their profiles and I see who they are, I'm like, ooh, he's already ugly from his personality, right? Even if he's a good looking man, you can tell by his words, he's just an ugly person inside. And so I don't listen to that. It doesn't hurt me. So anybody can say what they want to me. I'm not getting hurt by it anymore, because it's just words. It doesn't matter to me, because that's not my truth. I know my truth. And when somebody's strong in their own truth, the world can't hurt you. Nothing anybody can say or do will hurt you. Even physically, if they want to try to physically hurt me, which of course I haven't been in that type of situation since before this event. But even if they tried, I don't believe it would damage me in the same way it used to. It wouldn't break me, because the spirit inside of me is still great. Now, I'm not urging anybody to come and test that theory on me. So don't come and test it. But I do feel like when you have God in your heart and in your soul, your whole body starts to heal, and you start to heal with it. And that was the secret sauce for me, was to learn that he's always there. He's giving you what you believe you want, what you believe you need. And when you don't forgive him, when you blame, instead of looking for the why life is happening for you, which is what I never did. I never looked at why life was happening for me before. And now I look at why it's happening. And now I see the answers instead of seeing the pain, right? So it's completely different in that way. And that allows me to get through life in an easier way. So I don't feel stressed in the same way I used to. I used to internalize stress so much that it would, I'd get excruciating pain from the neck down. My whole body would go into spasm and pain from just a little bit of stress. And that's partially of the Crohn's disease. Well, when you have MS and you act stressed, man, things get bad fast. And so now that stress doesn't affect me in the same way, because I know how to dissipate it by meditation, prayer, hypnosis, all of these things that I use on a regular basis. And it just allows me to continually heal myself through all of that.
So, weren't the doctors pretty amazed at your progress and healing?
Yeah. At first they told me I was batshit crazy. and that I was going to die like that on the drugs they had me on. They had me on a ton of medication, 15 medications, 5 of them brain numbing. Uh, like on really powerful pain medications that could knock out an elephant, that sort of thing. They said, you're going to die this way. And no, I wasn't going to die that way. If I had continued with their advice in that way, yeah, I would have. If I had continued with the self-hate, yeah, I would have. But once I came back after the hypnosis and I went to see my doctor, I think it was about a year after that event, so in 2020, when I went to see the doctor, he said I was his miracle. I was his only miracle. None of his other clients ever healed their MS. They never went fully into remission. I have been in remission since 2019, and I have no symptoms of multiple sclerosis anymore. Besides the left leg that still has a little bit of pain, but I no longer have seizures. Those are gone. Everything left me. The pain in my body. Listen, the Crohn's disease and the MS are still there. Okay, I didn't delete them. What I did is I don't allow them to control me anymore. And that's a huge difference. And the Crohn's itself, that doctor is impressed as well because I don't need them anymore, where I was on an every 2-week basis begging for help, begging for pain medication, begging for anything. And I don't need them anymore. And so I rarely ever see my doctors. I don't even really have a family doctor anymore because I don't need it. And they all think that I'm just a miracle baby because they don't know how this happened. And I keep telling them it's hypnosis, it's God in hypnosis, but I don't tell them the God part because I know doctors believe in science, so I don't mention that part because I don't need them rolling their eyes at me. But I just tell them it was the hypnosis that changed everything. And when you learn to believe in yourself, everything changes. When you learn to love yourself, everything changes. And so, yeah, my doctors do feel they would like me to teach other people this. And so that's what I've started to do is I created Roar, which is resetoverride.com, which is a nervous system reset app. And that's going to teach people how to learn to love themselves, how to heal their own bodies and their own minds, and how to find themselves again. And yeah, it's not talking about God in there. I don't talk about God, but will it lead them to God? Hell yeah, because they're going to learn how to love. And as soon as you learn how to love, you're in God's territory, you know? So they got no choice. Yeah.
Well, like I think isn't MS a progressive disease? Because I've seen a couple of people that had MS, and it always seems like they become completely wheelchair bound, and you know.
And I did. Yeah. So listen, there's 4 types of MS, okay? I'm not going to go through them all, but what I had was the relapse remitting kind. So it comes and goes, comes and goes. I could be paralyzed 10 years and then book one day I'm back to normal, right? And then it'll progress like that. But for me, when I started to get sick, even though it was like this, I always still had signs of the MS. It was still affecting, and I don't know if it was the medications or the MS itself because the two came together, right? So I don't know. But because I got diagnosed when I was 28 with MS, and so there was a good 18 years that I suffered from it, and during those 18 years, I was mostly paralyzed, on and off. Every 3-4 months, I'd be paralyzed for 3 or 4 or 5 months. And then I would get back my legs and I'd be able to walk, but I was never able to dance or anything like that or run. But I could start walking again with dragging a leg. But my body always felt numb, like always. It never went away. And then, so for some, yeah, it is progressive. But let me tell you what happens when you get sick. When somebody gets sick, within the first year, their mental health depletes because you suddenly become that sick person in people's eyes. You get treated differently by people. You treat yourself differently, and suddenly you're a victim. You're no longer a warrior, right? You're a victim to that illness. And I was a victim. I was a victim to the Crohn's disease. And I believed that in my head that I had no choice. I was not going to be able to save anything. I'm not going to be able to fix myself because that's what the doctor said. These are incurable. You can't fix anything. Well, that's not true. You can stop them in their tracks. You just have to understand how to stop things in their tracks. And I know that Dr. Joe Dispenza, he talks about this. in his book, Becoming Supernatural. And that's one of the books I read right after I got healthy, was that book. It's freaking fantastic, by the way. But it does teach you how to heal your own body through your mind by visualization, by seeing the cells heal themselves. And so that's what I was practicing under my hypnosis, was seeing those cells all start to heal. So when I first started to heal my body, I was seeing black in all the spots that were numb. It was just black in my mind when I go into my body. But as I would go through, I would close my eyes and I would see each blood cell being fixed by the white cells. They would come in as warriors, and they would just beat up all the black and clear it out, and it would start to go pink and really soft, and it would be just glorious and shiny and new. And that's what I was visualizing. And then my body was healing along with it. And then if I was in pain, I would command the pain to, well, bugger off. You don't belong here. I reject you. And I was doing the commands. And there's specific ones we do within hypnosis as well. But I was commanding my body and my mind and my soul to heal. And it did, because I was giving it no other choice. And I wasn't allowing the stinking thinking into my brain. Right? So if you delete the negative thoughts, which I was able to do through the hypnosis, and I got rid of all that negative thinking, and I only started to think in a positive mindset, now my body follows where my brain goes, right? And so that changed the game for me. Now, can everybody do that? I don't know. Like we had talked last time about, can everybody heal their illness? Well, you can heal the symptoms of the illness, right? You can heal the pain from the illness. You can heal all of that stuff. But will you ever take the illness fully out of your body? Probably not. But you can have full control over it if you use the power of your mind. Now, that being said, some people are born with something, like Down syndrome. You're not ever going to change Down syndrome, but those babies were sent to us, many people, I like to say that we're either a lesson or we're here to learn a lesson, right? I had to learn my lessons. Now I am the lesson for people, but I had to learn my lessons to become the lesson. People with Down syndrome are born as the lesson. They are full of love, full of happiness, full of joy. And when you get to be in the presence of a child with Down syndrome, that's what you feel. And they get to be the lesson to you to learn to love. And so if you're rejecting that, you're rejecting love, right? And that's why children are born into a family. Children are there to teach the parents the lessons they didn't learn until they got to that age where they had their child. That child is there to teach you love, self-love, and how to love another human being unconditionally. And if you allow it, you will bring up a beautiful child and your soul will start to heal as well. Now, I refuse to have children, so God never got to get to me that way through a child, right? So instead, what did he have to do? He had to knock me down, fully knock me down before I would hear it, because I was fully 100% in that ego. And so in order to reverse the ego damage that I was doing to myself, he had to knock me down. And that's why I say life is for you. It's not done to you. Nothing is done to you. An accident, it was done for you so that you would slow the frig down, so that you would change your ways, because maybe you were, going like I was, going down the wrong path in the wrong job, and I wasn't supposed to be there. And had I continued, I would have been the Barbara Walters of Canada, right? That was my freaking goal. And imagine how much hate I would have had in my soul had I continued in that world, because that's what I was surrounding myself with, was anger, hate, chaos, violence, aggression. I was seeking out other people's misery and pain. That's what I was filling my soul with every single day. And that's what I would have become further. And it would have just ingrained into me. But now I get to be the other girl. I get to be the miracle to the doctors. I get to myself. And, a lot of people still don't believe. They think I'm just lucky. No, this isn't luck. This is a lot of hard work.
You're listening to the Inspire Me with Jay podcast. Please do like and subscribe to the channel, bringing hope and inspiration to the world.
I got to be the same person that I turned to be today. So I feel like I was saved through all of this, through all these lessons that I had to learn. And so that's what people if you want to heal yourself, if you want to heal your body, it starts up here. That's where it starts. It's not going to get medications. Yeah, medications do help. Don't get me wrong. We still need them. We still need our doctors. We still need our therapists. We still need all that. But how much you need them is a whole nother ballgame. I was relying on them to survive before, and now they're there as a tool to use when I have a breakout or when something goes wrong. If I need emergency surgery or surgical services or whatever case, that's what they're there for now. Whereas before, they were something I leaned on for support. They were everything. Every 2 weeks, I was in a doctor's office. Every 2 weeks for 18 years. So that was what I believed my story to be, and it's no longer that anymore because I got to learn something else.
Mhm. Yeah, and you had said that you do hypnosis and meditation on yourself, but then you also
Mhm.
sometimes will go to another person and do hypnotherapy and different things like that too.
Yeah, I have my own hypnotherapist. All therapists should have a therapist, and if they don't go to that therapist because that means they're not healed. They're just one of those broken people trying to fix people, and that's a scary person to be healing by. So, first question you should always ask your therapist is if they have a therapist. And yes, I do. I have my own therapist that I do see on a regular basis. Well, for me, regular is every 3 months we have to see each other now. But in the beginning, I was seeing her every month. And like I said, I had for a full year, every month, I was getting a hypnosis done. So it takes 21 days for these hypnosises to work, to fully work in your body and your mind. So I was seeing her once a month for that full year. And it was incredibly powerful to help me to learn, to heal. And again, like, when you come into us for this kind of stuff, we're not telling you. Unlike my therapist, I had been to a bunch of therapists prior to that, and they never worked for me because talk therapy doesn't work for me. Stubborn mind. Again, back to that stubborn mind, right? But it's not going to work for somebody who believes they're constantly right. And I believed I was right, they were wrong, and there was nothing they could say to change my mind, right? And so that therapy was a waste of that therapist's time because it wasn't working for me. But now I go to my rapid transformational therapist, and what happens under RTT hypnosis therapy is that you don't even have to tell us the pain that's going on because it's not talk therapy. It's not like talk therapy, although that works for some people to find the answers they need, to find their why. Once you know your why and you want to change out of it, that's when you come to rapid transformational therapy. And what we do here is we help you to go into the mind. And when you're in there, you see all the answers. It's like a rainbow of answers that come above your head, or at least that's the way I present it to my clients. I tell them there's going to be a rainbow above your head of images or a video that's going to play above your head or in front of your face. It's going to be right there. You're going to see it right now. Boof, there it is. And then they see the answers, and all the answers come to them. Now, do they tell me what the answers are? Sometimes they do. They'll tell me a little bit of the answers, but I don't know everything. I just know some of the stuff that they're seeing there. And that's the beauty of it, is that you don't have to verbalize everything. So if you don't like talking about your issues, this is where you come, because you don't have to talk about them. You just go straight in, deal with it, boom, bang, bing, and dunsies. You get to come out of it. You get all the answers of why it's happening. You get to reframe it in your own mind. And then you get to change the game. You switch it around, you implement, and then I implement whatever they ask me to put into their mind. I implement that at the end of the session. And then in the next month, your body then takes on all that information and starts to make it happen. It starts to help it to grow in your body and in your mind. And that's how the changes happen under hypnosis. And that's why the therapy worked so well for me, because I couldn't rebuttal the images I was seeing. That was my truth. It showed me how I got to where I was at, why I had been so miserable. That's how I learned that, I was given MS as a gift, to slow me right the frig down, because I wasn't slowing down. He gave me Crohn's first, and I wasn't slowing down. I kept pushing and pushing. And he's like, okay, let me hit you with the MS. And then, it was one after the other. Okay, well, let me hit you with a DNR, right? So all of these, not DNR, NDE. So let me hit you with all of this stuff. And so that's what it was. And I started to realize that because the answers were up here and I was visually seeing what led to every single event in my life. And I could see the why, the how, everything. And then I could see the solutions. It was like a big tree of life came up with all of these little branches, and it gave me options on each branch. You take this route, this is where it's going to lead you. If you take that one, these are the solutions that come here. If you go this way and that way, you're going to find your resolve. You're going to get to where you want, but each path is going to give you to a different direction. So it's up to you to decide where you want to be, who you want to be, how you want to present yourself, and how much work you want to put behind it. And it showed me if I don't put in the work, what's going to happen. And if I do put in the work, what's going to happen. And of course, I went full hog on that one because I wanted my body back. I wanted my mind back. I wanted my life back. And I got it all back because I fought for it. I saw it. I saw it up here. And you can't deny when you see the truth in your head. You can't deny it. And it wasn't somebody else telling me. The therapist didn't tell me. All she did, and that's all I do for my clients, is we unlock the door that you locked, the door I locked back when the chaos and the issues and the pain started. Those doors got locked. I locked my doors to God. I locked the doors to myself. I locked the doors to my family. I locked the doors to everyone. Like, get the hell out. I'm nothing anymore, right? As soon as I locked those doors, I couldn't unlock them anymore because I didn't know how. But when you get under the hypnosis, it's so easy because you get to see it. You get the answers that are provided for you from you. I like to say from God because I think when I go into each session, I do prayers with God. He walks with me into each of those sessions so that I have the answers to open the doors for my clients so that I can help guide them and help them see what they need to see. I never mention God, of course, in my sessions because everybody's denomination is different. Everybody's belief systems are different. But I do use him as my guardian angel along the path so that I can be doing the right thing for these people and not sending them in the wrong direction, not unlocking a door too quickly for them when they're not ready for that door to be open yet, because everything goes according to what somebody can handle. And if you think that you can't handle going backwards for your past, because I've heard that from a few people who are afraid to come for therapy for hypnosis. I don't want to go through all that pain again, they say. Well, every day that you don't, you're actually suffering and reliving that pain. Every day that you don't face it, right? And so that's when I learned you have to face. You have to face. And the hypnosis was the fastest way for me to do that and for my clients to do that because in a 3 hour, I do 3 hour sessions, 2.5 to 3 hour sessions for my guests. And in that time, they get to revisit it quickly, rewrite it, take back their power. I'll give you an example. We had a client, she's done a video with me. She's one of my live videos that I have on my chat show. But she came in and she did her hypnosis, and she had to go revisit when her father was sexually abusing her. And we found out in that session when we went in, she just went back to the very first time he abused her, which was in a trailer at the campground when her mom was off doing whatever. She was sleeping and he came into the trailer to try to sexually abuse her, and he touched her breasts and he was doing all that. Anyways, in that hypnosis, I said, what do you want to do? What do you want to take back the power? How do you want to do it? And all she did was she shoved him with all her might out of that room. And he went flying, hit a tree, down for the count. She took her power back because in her mind, she was able to push off the offender. And then when she got to take her power back, she got to stand tall, and you could physically see under hypnosis when these people are children, when they revert back to that child, I physically see the change on her voice, her body shifts, her positions shift, everything shifts. I see it. And she shifted. But right after he abused her and she took back that power, I saw a warrior just build and her back went straight and she was powerful. And the change was instant in her. And she was one of the people I was telling you who we helped her cure her cancer. After that session, okay, we found out that she had the cancer. So we did another session. We went back in, and her brain brought her back to every single event that happened where she lost her power through that man. Okay. And it brought her back to each event. And it was just a minute in each event, but she got to take back the power, go back and see each event. And then we realized that the knee pain that she had been holding on to her whole life was there because she failed to run away. She failed to stand up to herself. So her knees got weak and she was having a hard time as an adult walking because she was too weak to walk away then. And that was the story she kept telling herself. I'm too weak to run. I can't. I'm not powerful enough, right? And so her knees gave out. She ended up with breast cancer. That's where we found the breast. And under that hypnosis, guess where the first spot her dad touched her was the exact breast. She ended up with breast cancer. And then once we healed that, we healed the breast cancer. It immediately went away. Now, that being said, we also did a parasite cleanse with her, because that's part and parcel with cancer cure is parasite cleansing with any illness, by the way, especially multiple sclerosis. If you have it, parasite cleanse your ass off right away, because MS is proven through autopsies to be 100% parasites in the brain. So do parasite cleansing with a doctor's supervision. If you have a doctor, that would be best. But yeah, do parasite cleansing. She did a parasite cleanse. She did the hypnosis. She did all of that. And her cancer was gone after the third month working together. Well, 2.5 months, actually, 2 months. Her parasite, everything was gone. Her doctor now thinks she's the miracle child because hers went. And from there, we did 2 more like that. And so can we help everybody with cancer? No, not necessarily. Because again, hers was traumatic events that created the cancer, right? And so her body was shutting down in the areas where she felt dirty, where she felt powerless and helpless. So for her, it worked. But will it help everybody? No, because some people have cancer due to environmental, due to medications they were on, or something else caused it. And I can't help with that, right? But you might be able to bring yourself out of some of that stuff. And again, parasite cleanses, they're saying we should do that for all illnesses, is to parasite cleanse. So that helps. And so we've helped 2 other people do the same thing as her. And both of those people, again, had been through abusive issues in which they were internalizing it, and it ended up turning into cancer in their bodies. For me, it was Crohn's disease. I pushed down the pain of the abuse I went through in my lifetime because I did have abuse within my family, not sexual. Mine was a physical abuse, an emotional abuse. And I pushed the anger down. And instead of dealing with anything, because, children can be seen, not heard, I never let it out. And finally, when I took back that power, when I got my voice back, guess what subsided? The Crohn's. Now, do I still have Crohn's? Yeah, I still have a lot of pain. But my doctor and I agree that the pain is because of the 3 surgeries now that they've given me that I never actually needed. And that's what he said. If we had known what we knew then, we never would have gave you those surgeries, but that's what's causing your pain now. It's the scar tissues in my body that's closing my bowel wall up until it's so small nothing can get through, which is why I ended up dying in 2019, by the way, was because nothing can get through my bowels and I was dying. So all of this to say that, you can heal yourself from a lot of stuff. And it doesn't take, I hope it doesn't take a near-death experience for other people to learn this lesson. That's kind of the hard way to learn it. But if you're stubborn, I guess that's the way you're going to go.
So, I mean, like the difference between like hypnotherapy, RTT, and stuff like that versus like a guided meditation, it seems like it's much more directed and specific. And in a
Right.
sense, it's much more intense because you talked about like 3 hours, whereas maybe you
Yeah.
meditate 45 minutes, 30 minutes, or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah, well, and monks will meditate for days on end, right? I mean, there is a monk. He's in a building right now because he died in meditation while he was meditating, and he's still meditating to this day. They kept his body in that position, and he's there. They put sunglasses on him though because his eyes fell out, so he doesn't scare the kids anymore. But so yeah, you can meditate for this long and heal yourself through the meditations if you want. That I've learned is possible. Monks do it. They can. It's where you put your mind. So yes, we are incredibly intense. It's different than a stage hypnosis. That's just games. That's play. They can't do, no stage hypnotist can do what I can do, or any RT therapist can do under what we do, because ours is a therapeutic clinical hypnosis. So it's a completely different type of hypnosis. It's not just for games and play. And so, yeah, it is very intense. It is very serious. It is releasing. Whenever somebody comes out of a session with me, you can see them come in and they're tense. You can see it in their face. Their faces are tense. When they leave, they're like little marshmallows. And they're just because they have just released like 30 years of anxiety, of depression, of stress. And it all gets relieved in that moment. And it happens like, right? Within 24 hours, they call me and they're like, I'm a whole new person. Everything's different, right? And it continues. Them, because it, again, the more stubborn the mind, the longer it takes to heal. So the more stubborn the person, sometimes it'll take them a full week before they'll start to see full change, but they notice it within the first 24 hours. We had one gentleman who called me a witch, actually, called me a witch because he was completely addicted to sugar to the point where it was really badly affecting his gut and his life. Right. And he had like severe anxiety. And I'm like, it's the sugar. Like, you got to get off that sugar. It's bad for you. And so he's like, okay, let's do a session. So we did the session just to help him get rid of sugar. And he called me the next day. Are you a witch? I just had a black coffee and I couldn't put sugar in it. I had to throw it out the second I even put one. He used to put 6 teaspoons of sugar in a small cup of coffee. And now even to put 1 teaspoon, he couldn't even taste it and drink it. It was so gross to him. He didn't like it anymore. And it's that fast. We had somebody else who had eating disorders. And by that, she was an anxiety eater. And when she came in, she said, like, I can't stop. If I get anxiety, my fix to make me feel better was eating. Well, once we went under hypnosis, we found out because grandma used to feed her. Every time she feels sad, grandma made her a pie or cookies, or, you know what I mean? And so that was her nourishment, to have grandma give her that big hug. And so once we realized that, we taught her how to hug herself and different ways. She found the different ways to remember that rainbow of answers that I told you, or the tree of answers. She got it through that. And so after that session, she called, hers was about 4 weeks, 3 weeks or 4 weeks afterwards. She calls me up just absolutely surprised. She goes, well, I knew it was working because my eating habits had changed. She goes, I didn't fully know it was working until one of the girls from my child's school came over with a big box of my favorite desserts. And it was a thank you to her, a big box of desserts. And she goes, I didn't want them. And in the hypnosis, we said, you can still take a bite of sweets. You'll like it. But by the second bite, you don't need it anymore. And that was the story that the hypnosis was telling her. And she goes, I went to eat these. I was so excited to sit down with this box of goodies to eat them. And then I had one bite and it was so good. And I went to have that second bite and I was done. I didn't need anymore. She goes, I can't believe exactly what you said was going to happen happened. I'm like, well, you did that. You listened to the audio and your brain changed it all. You did that under the hypnosis. I just unlocked that door and you walked through. You took your power back. Right? She changed the story for herself. She learned how to love herself. And that's what this is all about, is love, love, love. Be love, show love, share love. And I get to do that. I get to teach people how to be love. And that's how I get off the planet. Because that was my incentive, by the way, because I was told I'm not getting off this planet unless I learn it. And I don't want to come back. I do not want to come back here. I think this is the learning planet for those who don't know how to love. And that's why we're here. And so we're either sent the people, we have some people who were born with love here, and those are going to be our lessons. Those are the trainers, right? And then there are people here like me who were angry most of my life, hateful most of my life. And now I get to learn to be love, which I did. And now I get to share that love. And that's what we all have to learn in order to heal, was love. And as soon as she learned how to love herself, she no longer needed those treats. She no longer needed grandma's hugs. It's done. And these aren't temporary. Like, I know when we go to Tony Robbins, and he does a great job for a lot of people. I'm not knocking Tony, don't get me wrong. Love Tony. I watch Tony all the time. But Tony, you have to go back every 3 to 5 months in order to get that same exhilarating feeling. And a lot of his clients will get their aha moment at Tony, but then go home and not know how to change it. And so they keep repeating the patterns. What hypnosis does is it stops those patterns. And so that's the brilliant part about it. So yeah, that's how that works.
So, where can people get a hold of you if they'd like to get a hold of you? Like they can go on social media, right? And you have a website.
Yeah, you're gonna link me M when you post this, so I know that they'll be able just to click on my name and find me. If not, then you could write me an email at admin@resetIgnite.com, or you can dial my number. We have a business line here. It's 204-500-8150. Or you could just join Roar right away. It gets started, and that will lead you to me as well. Program. Now, of course, that program will only get you to me once you're ready for me. So it gets you to do a bunch of work in advance, probably by month 3 within there. It'll ask you if you're ready for your hypnosis session with me yet, and then you can come in for the hypnosis for that. So it helps to prepare you because that's more of a self-help course. But you can go through there. So that's resetoverride.com. And you can come in through that way as well.
So, is there like one final message you'd like to leave with the audience before we close out?
Yeah. I need everybody to stop saying I can't. It's not for me. I need them to stop because yes, you can. Yes, you can. Everything is possible for everyone. And we're not saying that you're going to rid yourself of illness forever and ever. Amen. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying you can change the way it controls you. We're saying you can change the way your mind is controlling you, that words control you, that pain controls you. You can change all of that. And yes, you can. There's no reason to give up on life. There is a way out. There is answers. And even though the current medical system relies on medication and relies on talk therapy, when you're done with those things, you could come here and find a solution that will help actually change it. Because those solutions are the medications are the band-aid to the problem. They're not ever going to fix a problem. Well, unless it's an infection or something like that, but you know what I mean? For the most part, they're giving you something just to prolong your life rather than to take away the illness, right? Talk therapy is fantastic when you need to figure out the why for you, right? But you can also just come here and figure out the why. But we do work with people's therapists as well as them to help them find the cure. And in fact, we've got a few patients already who came here who had been seeing their therapist for 15, 18 years. And then after 3 months with us, the therapist kicked them out and told them never to come back. They don't need them anymore. So because they had healed so well and they learned how to heal themselves and they were only talking about happiness and good stuff and all of this stuff. And the therapist was like, well, my job is done. I've got nothing left with this one. And then asked them to come back if you ever need me again, but you don't need to be here right now. And so that's what I'm saying. There is a way. Sometimes you have to combine things. Sometimes you could just use the hypnosis. But just know that never say I can't, because yes, you can.